We went in search of spices, jewels, silks, riches of all types. All right, read question number 2, Katrina.
Ought to be in there. The fact is, by George, we need the money and we needed it for 5 years.
That they've got it. We ran into a bit of a problem at Maxwell, saying they were prepared to run their own schools. Well, let's deal with the most important thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, 40% could, yeah.
Already. You see, that's a 4 or 5. Another thing that I've always challenged with these small groups is the fact that there is no waste in the Montgomery County.
What's wrong with that? No. Then you are, okay? Up in the tree. Would it? No. What's wrong with that, Marie? Cows don't lay eggs. No, cows don't lay eggs. What do cows do? They lay milk. Mother took Sally to the pasture to see.
Tuesday and has called for the ayes and noes. Is the call sustained? Of the 42 major recommendations made by the committee, with 12 minor recommendations,
the 9 of us feel very deeply about this special educational session.
More than a majority of the major recommendations of this Alabama Education Study Commission.
Education Study Commission insofar as raising revenue is concerned. And this is the crux of the matter. I know that when I employ a physician to tell me what's wrong with me or with my 4 children or my 4 grandchildren, I expect to do what he recommends me to.
Adjourn until 10 o'clock Tuesday and ask that you vote against that motion and call for the ayes and noes, Mr. President.
Senator Crenshaw has moved that the Senate do now adjourn until
The schools are going to close.
We'd have to change it. To raise it more than 5 mills, we'd have to change the law anyway.
Right.
Either that or go to a statewide election.
Yes. Now, we have not, just don't believe it. So we feel that we've got to come back just as hard and say they are going to be closed.
The living's gone up and probably special education and about 5 quick points of where the money can be spent.
But
Of course, the paramount thing is keeping.
Asked me this morning, you know, questions like, is the federal government going to cut out the honors class? Will you spend this money on transportation? In other words, they were thinking about busing, you see.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is.
it was decided that we would first come back with a letter that would go to parents. What are the thoughts on that? We feel like this letter should go out.
So we let them teach
But
them
Wade
before
didn't
they
want
try.
to, and I'm doing.
You're saying the first thing that you must do is to sell parents.
We must make them completely aware of the inevitable closing and imminent closing of the school. And this, in our understanding, is what the situation is.
This tax won't completely eliminate the closing of the schools. It is the feeling of everyone that it will go very far down the line toward doing this. But I think that the people are entitled to know, and I think it's a consensus of everyone here, that the most pressing problem is a pupil-teacher ratio. And the fact that we're not just asking for money because some legislative act is holding it over our head. There is a serious need, which the need's been here for 5 or 6 years, but due to the social changes and number of classrooms, you can teach. The problem with the property tax situation
Right.
is where the rest of the nation
It will raise somewhere around $1 million. How would you get the other $500,000 or so that you'd need to comply with
Well,
the law?
there's 2 or 3 ways that money could be raised. The Board of Revenue now has authority to levy certain types of taxes, not on property. The local Montgomery County delegation could go when the legislature comes in session and could pass some kind of a revenue-producing measure that would apply only to Montgomery County. The city commission could make a donation to the Montgomery County schools or the Board of Revenue. That's about the only 3 other ways there would be.
The time to stop the law is now and make it and force it to be changed.
You've had some things to say also about the methods the school board has used in the campaign.
Well, one of the things, of course, they've hired a public relations firm, and this money could be used for textbooks, I guess, but they're not, or for some other purpose. But the main thing that I've found that people object to being threatened or bullied with something such as the schools are going to close November the 1st, 1971, and you'd better believe it. Some of the members of my group took a look at one of the statements on here, and which said that because of citizen and voter refusal to vote taxes for schools, school systems have closed in Bellevue, Nebraska, Redmond, Oregon, Hazelwood and Hickman Mills, Missouri, Alexandria and Versailles, and Youngstown, Ohio, and many others. The disastrous results for students, families, commerce, business, and industry have been widely publicized. Well, a few phone calls disclose that in Bellevue, Nebraska, the schools have never closed. They're not closed now. In fact, none of these schools are now closed.
Of the terms, we should get what? A cubed coefficient of the middle term. All right, if we want to take A plus B, B is 2, and the coefficient of B squared is 1.
the school system, the two or three big things that you'd like to see some attention given to?
Well, Charles, I think first that our big need is to reduce class size, and especially in the elementary and junior high levels. Also, in the junior high and elementary levels, we need some specialists in the field of guidance, librarians, people of that type. And that is why that our elementary schools and our junior high schools are not accredited, is because of class size and these special people that go to make up the program more complete, like in our senior high schools where we have guidance people, librarians, so forth. Schools that are eligible for what we call Title I monies have been given some remedial teachers.
Well, immediately you can see that there is less time for the teacher to devote to every child there. All the things you do in the classroom tend to take longer. There is a bigger problem in keeping order just because 40, 45 people crowded into a classroom are crowded and they are uncomfortable. It takes longer to get points across. Some kids get left out no matter what you do on a given day.
God gives us sunlight and has given us the flashlight.
All right, I believe you're doing better. It began with the same sound as sled. Curtis, do you see one? Sleep. All right, sleep is one. Do you see another one?
Where he's in a small classroom like that, crowded in there with
hot and he has to have a fan, 2 fans going, and all this is pretty bad.
Well,
Yes, schedule fine.
Is he coming on this weekend?
Yes, it's fine. No, I kept seeing those.
Hello? That's me.
Let's look at it, just keep it, don't need to go into that, all right? Let's go with that first question on that page.
Alex, to the new world.
All right, what did Columbus do to get ready for his first voyage? Edith Parks.
Columbus was eager to go back to.
Another reason, he wanted to prove a theory of his that he thought the earth was round. And what is another reason? All right, let's see, Vanessa.
Columbus was eager to go back to his new world and start a colony year.
All right, why was Columbus so eager to find a water route? One reason was he wanted to find a shorter distance to the East Indies. Well, one reason is the fact that money of here at this school, and we need at least one reference set, one set of reference books for each each classroom and everything to use, and we just don't have them, and therefore we're having to swap around, and some of my children, they need them, they don't have the opportunity to use them.
What about your dictionaries? You were telling me about that.
Yes, the fact that our school just doesn't have any dictionaries at all.
How do you teach a class without having a dictionary?
I have one dictionary that's it's down here, it's the World Book Dictionary, and that's only one, and my whole classes have to use it, and then other teachers use it. It's kind of hard to teach a class anywhere without students having a dictionary at all.
Needs is in the area of equipment. Could you give me some examples of that?
See from the window, and the space is there, but the equipment is, we don't have any equipment. Now, several of the boys and girls have brought balls or ropes or that sort of thing, and one or two of the teachers have brought in some of their personal things. But to say that we have equipment, I couldn't say yes to that question. We have none.
Down. All right, down. Down, hold.
system didn't raise all this additional local effort money that's needed, what happened to the school?
These, I think, are the three major problems right now in our schools.
You've been to some of these schools in these low-income school zones. Do you think that the education that has been going on there for the past few years has been what it ought to be?
Well, from the way I see it, no. We've got to upgrade in these schools. Again, we've got very poor equipment. We've got overcrowded classrooms and poor facilities. And there's a definite need here, and something must be done right away.
Well, there's not much way that you can help them unless you had some money. And of course, if we get some money, and we ought to take over the furnishing of equipment and materials and supplies in all the schools. Of course, it'll take more money in those schools that are further behind. But that is something that the Board of Education should furnish. And of course, the Board of Education would be happy to furnish it if it had the money. But the Board of Education has no...
I can cover many of the things that we talked about in my comment.
To the experiences in the story. Like this morning we read about a little boy who had a rock collection. Well, all of them knew about that. So.
With the children here so far in the area of reading?
Well, so far, I would say that the majority are below the standard for the grade. We have fourth grade books checked out and they're having difficulty with them. However, I have one group, out of 60 children, I'd say 20 of them can read on grade level, and the others are below. Hello?
J. Now let's turn the page and all of us help him for a paragraph. Maybe that. Turn the page. 25 back.
Reading is number one. Most of our children will rank from 2 years to 2.5 years below on grade reading level. Now there are several possible reasons for this. The lack of family organization, the lack of suitable places for home study, the lack of materials in the home to foster reading, that would be magazines, newspapers, and books.
But you know, we're not supposed to have but 15 children in this class. And my class has been full ever since the beginning of the second week. And now we just don't have any space for as many children as we have parents who wish that their children could be in here.
What do you suppose happens to those who can't get into class like
They are low in the Montgomery system.
They're
compared to some
low
areas.
compared with other areas of the South. We're not even up to the Southern average, and of course if we're going to get the best teachers for our boys and girls and attract the brighter youngsters that are going into professions, you're going to have to pay them enough to attract them.
It is, the coefficient of A is what? All right, what is the sum of the exponents in each term?
In summary, the Montgomery school system has some serious needs that even the proposed tax would not solve. But school officials feel that the tax would be a start, that the $1 million it would raise would help hire more teachers and build new classrooms to relieve some of the crowded conditions. Also, it would buy some equipment for schools that don't have it and would provide some money for teacher salaries. And generally, it would help to forestall a crisis and fill a serious need. This is Charles Caton reporting. Good night.
Hello. Just to add.
To give the services to
and ask the people to
and just watch your words.
He wanted to start a college. Have any physical education equipment at all?
Did elementary, junior high school.
Language arts.
Being one and add the.
Can you tell us what number 3 says?
Which word we did, like this picture word right